Hey guys, excuse me. Hey guys, this is week 3, video 2. If it's the first video you're watching, exit out. Make sure you hit up the first video. If you're like, where can I find it? It can be found underneath directions for week 3. Underneath directions, you can find all the videos, right? So now this is video 2 for the instructions. So I just talked a little bit about the beginning of the first notes. We got through the first 2 slides. We got through the first 2 slides. Technically 3 with the title slide, right? So we are... Nope, sorry, the guys, this is the wrong slide set, my bad. 1, 2, and 3. Alright, so I just finished going over this slide in the last video. I'm not gonna go over it again, but I do want to talk about your first question here. So question 1, again, week 3 assignment part 1, question 1. On slide 2, what are two questions that help form each of our environmental worldviews? Well, if you watched my last video, I went over a bunch of questions. And they can all be found right in here. Right in here, guys. All these questions are the questions I'm talking about. Who am I? Why am I here on Earth? All of those. Alright, so that's nice and easy. Question 2. Answer one of the questions provided on slide 3 and describe one way the answer reflects how you personally feel about the environment. Okay, so I see a little typo here, and I'm upset at myself. So it's not. Okay, it is slide 3. So I'm saying slide 3, and that includes the title slide. So 1, 2, 3. So if I go back to my questions here, guys, for question 1, it should actually say slide 3. Okay. So on slide 3, what are the 2 questions that help form each of our environmental worldviews? Well, bam, the questions are right here. For the second question, for question 2, you have to pick one of these questions and actually answer it. So for instance, you can pick who am I or why am I here on Earth? Any one of these questions you can answer. And that's your question 2 for this week. But there's a but, right? So you got to answer the question and describe one way the answer reflects how you feel about the environment, right? So I gave you an example. I answered a question for myself, and I wrote it on your doc. So the question that I chose to answer is, what should I do with my life? Here's my answer. I should teach students about the importance of nature and natural resources so they can help fight climate change and pollution and many other environmental problems that will get worse if the next generation doesn't stop making decisions that hurt the natural world. Should have said, if the next generation doesn't solve the problems of previous generations, because it's not your guys' fault, it's actually all generations that have come before you. But so you're answering one of these questions, but you have to bring up the environment in some way. So this might be a little difficult, but I think you can do it. I have faith, and if you need help, just shoot me an email. All right, so that's question 2. Question 3. All right, so this comes from slide 4, which is right here. Let's see. Slide 4. Okay, so slide 4. I'm talking about the movie Blood Diamond. I think every single one of you who are doing this project watched Blood Diamond. It was the movie about Sierra Leone and Africa and the diamond mines and all the horrible things that went down because of those diamond mines. So it says, we watched a movie in the beginning of the school year about mining for diamonds in Africa. We watched as families were murdered and kids were torn from their homes and made into child soldiers for someone in America to have a fat engagement ring. Fat just means big. I mean, I think you know that. don't think I have to tell you guys that. Some of us had a really difficult time watching this movie because we did not agree with, or our values did not match what was happening in the film. We didn't think it was right. We didn't think it was morally right. We didn't think it was fair, right, for the families, especially since it was based off a true story. And some of us were not fazed by the film, maybe because we think that people are all rotten, and we think that money is always going to influence violence, and that cruelty is always going to happen in the world, and there's nothing I can do about it, or you can do about it, or anyone can do about it, right? And so it didn't faze you. It's just the way life is. So this is an idea, or this kind of shows you an example of a worldview, right? You can watch a movie like Blood Diamond and feel like you need to change the world. Like, it's not fair that people have to go through these things, and it's not fair, and you feel like you need to go out and change the way the world works, right? And then some people can watch something like this and they're not as bothered by it. So you can watch the same movie but not have the same response, right? And that's what I'm talking about with worldviews, right? We can all see the same things, but we don't experience them the same way, right? We don't have the same feelings towards them. Okay, so for the third question, folks, let me go back here. The third question, I just read to you what I just read on the slide. That's what this big paragraph is. It just comes from the slide I just read about Blood Diamond. Question 3, describe in 1 or 2 sentences how you felt about the movie Blood Diamond, or the description of the movie in the paragraph up here. What did the movie make you feel like? What emotions did it bring out of you? And if you don't remember the movie, just read this paragraph. Question 4, do you think the emotions or feelings do you think the emotions or feelings you have about the movie have anything to do with how you see the environment, or how important the environment is to people in our world, in the developed countries or the developing countries, right? I'm curious to hear what you guys say about that one. Do all people have the same environmental worldviews? I think you should be able to answer this question before I even get to the slide. Is my environmental worldview going to be the same as yours? No, and it doesn't have to be, right? We're all different people. Oops. Okay. So this is another example. So I just talked about Blood Diamond and how that is like one way to explain how people have different worldviews. Here's another one. I think this one's more straightforward. You might be able to understand this one a little bit better, a little bit easier. Susan is a student. She takes the bus every day to get to school. Every afternoon, she leaves her trash at the bus stop because she feels like the bus stop is always messy and dirty, and adding her trash to all the other trash doesn't matter. It doesn't affect anyone. She thinks the roads around the school will always be filthy, and there's no point in thinking about it in any other way. It's just the way it is. She doesn't care if her trash gets in the way of other people or families either. She doesn't really think about it. And then there's Timmy. Timmy's a student who also uses the bus to go to school. As Timmy waits for the bus, he'll actually pick up trash he sees around the stop. He has a Ziploc bag, he keeps it in his backpack, and he'll just put trash in it. Timmy sees cleaning the bus stop as his responsibility. If he doesn't clean it, he doesn't see anybody else cleaning it. So, he feels like if he doesn't do it, then no one's going to do it. So someone's got to do it. What will life be like for his grandkids if he doesn't clean the bus stop? Like, if these streets aren't clean, what kind of world's going to be left for the future generations? He's also concerned about the birds and the squirrels he sees around the bus stop. He hates the thought of an animal choking to death on a cigarette butt. He doesn't understand why more people don't care about the planet and all the things that live on the planet. Okay, summary here. People have different worldviews. Timmy is different than Susan. I watch Blood Diamond, and I might have different feelings and thoughts and reactions than you, right? In terms of environmental worldview, some people really, really care. Some people care a lot. Some people kind of, sort of, sometimes care. And some people could give two poops. I even write that. Give two poops about the environment. People's environmental ethics, what they see as morally right or wrong, will affect or influence our worldview and our role in the world, or our role in the environment, right? So our environmental ethics will influence whether or not we care a lot, we care sometimes, or if we don't care. Okay, so how exactly does ethics influence our worldview? Well, here's another example. If Debbie sees hunting as bad, seeing hunting as bad or seeing a hunter as bad is an example of ethics, right? She's judging something as right or wrong. So for Debbie, hunting, morally wrong, not a good thing. She thinks that people who hunt are bad. This will influence or affect her environmental worldview, or how she sees the environment and what she thinks her role is in the environment. Maybe her role is to protect all the animals and make sure that they don't get hunted, right? So her ethics, it shapes her worldview and how she sees the world. All right, I'm going to stop here for a second, go back to my questions. So do all people have the same environmental worldview? Hopefully you say no. Question 6. Describe what environmental ethics is. What's one way your own personal ethics can influence your worldview? You should have a question mark. You can use the movie to answer this question, the movie Blood Diamond. You can use Debbie's example to answer this question with the hunting. You can use the two kids that I talked, the Timmy and Susan example with the trash and the bus stop. You can come up with your own example and answer this question, right? I don't care what you do. So again, if you have any questions or concerns about that, just email me. Imagine you are the owner of Starbucks. Like, not an owner, the owner. Like that trillionaire person that owns them all, right? Can you think of one or two ways the decisions you make could affect the environment? I want you to think about this. See what you come up with. One or two decisions the CEO of Starbucks makes that could affect the environment. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my slides here. It says here, environmental worldviews and business. I'm on slide 9. You will find that many products in stores have the company's environmental worldview listed on the packaging of their merchandise. So on the bottle, it'll say environmental worldview, or our environmental worldview is this. Sometimes it'll say the environmental impact statement of our business is this. So, example, you're walking down the shampoo aisle in the grocery store looking for some shampoo. You pick up a bottle and it says the following. It's the view of this company that the environment is sacred, and therefore we do not test our hair products on animals. That means they don't research, they don't have animals in a lab that are exposed to chemicals. They're not doing research. They're not doing research on anything that's alive or on animals. In addition to fighting for animal rights, we have a plan to reduce CO2 emissions and continue to fight climate change. So they're not hurting animals in the making of their products. They are against releasing CO2 into the atmosphere, and they want to contribute and fight global warming and climate change. This is an example of an environmental worldview for business, and you actually see these. If you start looking, you'll see them all over the place. I should have an example of something in front of me, but I don't. They're all in my classroom. Take a look next time you're in a store. Make sure you have a mask on. Don't go in that store without a mask. All right, I'm going to stop here. Check out video number 3. Coming at you soon. Peace!